Hello and welcome to Haunted Abergavenny, a 4-part special investigation into some of the town's most ghostly sights and the grisly history of the surrounding area. Let's begin. Perhaps the most infamous site around Abergavenny is that of the Skirrid Inn. Situated a mere 5 spooky miles out of town, the pub is the oldest in Wales and proudly touts itself as one of the most haunted in the UK too. The site dates back to the Norman Conquest, and the wood in the front door has been carbon dated back to 1,000 years old. That's a lot of history. In that time, it's been a courtroom and a hanging spot where 180 criminals met their grisly end by the noose. Ghosts are regularly sighted at the pub. One such example came last year when a delivery driver saw a woman in a veil watching him as he dropped kegs off at the pub. Not to be outdone, Abergavenny has another spooky pub to add to the list, the King's Arms. This time situated in the centre of town, the former coach house dates back to the 16th century and has been at the centre of much of the town's history since. In 1817, the 15th Hussars were stationed at the inn. The regiment had seen action at Waterloo 2 years before this. Their names are still visibly etched into the wooden beams. In perhaps its darkest hour, a woman was assaulted by a perverted monk. The monk was hung, drawn and quartered for the vile act in Monmouth. To this day, the building is said to be haunted by the White Lady. Patrons have been known to see a ghostly figure of a woman on the staircase. Could it be that the White Lady is the resident poltergeist? Abergavenny Castle has stood proudly overlooking the town for over 900 years. Built in 1087 by Hamlin de Ballan, a Norman lord, the castle really has seen it all. In the year of our Lord 1215, King John of England visited. But enough about the niceties. Perhaps its most infamous and gruesome moment came a century earlier in a scene that echoes the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. Warning, potential spoilers ahead. Let me set the scene. The year was 1175, and the lord of the castle was a man called William de Braose. He invited the Lord of Gwent, Silas ap Dunval, to a Christmas Day banquet at the castle. Ah, lovely. Along with him came his son Geoffrey and many notable Welsh princes, all innocent to William's plotting. When Silas and his men set aside their weapons and sat down to eat, drink and be merry, William had his guards murder his guests. Dozens of men, women and children were all butchered on that day. Not very friendly at all. This bloody mess helped gain William the nickname of the Ogre of Abergavenny. You'd think that would be enough bloodshed and misery for Abergavenny Castle, but you'd be wrong. The castle also played a part in the Glyndŵr rebellion against the English a few centuries later in 1404. The fortress took considerable damage when it was sacked and burned by the Welsh forces. Then, later on, between 1813 and 1814, the castle was home to 200 miserable French prisoners of war. Whilst records are unclear, it's pretty certain they were not here enjoying the food festival. More tragedy struck in the 19th century when John Nicholas, a local shoemaker, was murdered. His mutilated carcass was found on the castle walk, and his killers were later found guilty of bludgeoning the man and then strangling him. A woman was also crushed to death by accident in 1882 when a wooden scaffolding tower collapsed her at an Easter celebration. And I'm lucky I just got an Easter egg this year. Abergavenny is certainly full of history. Perhaps this is clearest most of all at one of the town's most iconic landmarks. Whatever your beliefs are in the supernatural, it's clear that Abergavenny Castle has a long history of violence. In fact, writer William Camden said the castle has been oftener stained with the infamy of treachery than any other castle in Wales. Perhaps this is why locals have been known to hear screams from the castle on Christmas Eve. And just who is the ghostly figure that's been seen walking the grounds? Maybe it's one of the victims of this senseless violence that still walks the castle walls. Or perhaps it's those who were behind such foul acts that still lurk in the shadows.